Mr. House will be speaking. He's from Motown Wireless. Mr. House, will you be able to, is your video working okay?
Yes, it is. Hi.
Awesome. Well, we're gonna have you to speak and introduce yourself. Tell us your positionality on the issue, and we would love to hear you speak. Thank you.
First, I guess, well, good evening, everyone. Heru House. Most people just say Heru, but some people know me as House. It's easier. My position. First of all, I'm going to play a video that sums up where we were in Detroit at the point where Dr. Wade had mentioned 2015, and it had been discovered that 40% of Detroit did not have the internet, broadband in particular. And so I was a part of a program that started in 2012, a grassroots program called the Digital Stewards. And the Digital Stewards' goal was to create or empower community members to assist other community members in digital literacy, digital justice, and then eventually communication justice or internet connections, should we say. So during that process, I was highlighted as one of the members because I was quite vocal and because I also had a background in technology in the New York Times for us creating internet, small local mesh networks amongst the community members on the west side, southwest part of Detroit, and what is now Midtown or was Cass Corridor when we started. So I'm just gonna play the video and then kind of, I guess that'll lead us into the questions and discussions. So I think we're all lined up. And if there's any more questions, that would be answered once we finish the video. Let's see. Okay. All right.
The state of internet in Detroit is quite sad. 40% has no connection.
So from food, housing, clothing, shelter, all the skills been stripped from us. It's like, damn, I gotta build everything from the fucking floor up.
Digital justice looks like no shames, you know? It looks like giving internet to people. It looks like building networks. That's why I'm doing it.
So we've now entered into Southwest Detroit, which is actually where I live. I just recently moved because I got priced out of my neighborhood. So I think that's a big part of the narrative too, is that people are just trying to keep their resources because so much is changing. I'm Diana Nucera.
Yeah. Sounds a little low to me.
AKA Mother Cyborg. I've been teaching people technology for as long as I can remember. To me, Mother Cyborg is someone who's supposed to help people come to the realization of the potential of technology. I'm the director of the Detroit Community Technology Project, which is responsible for the Equitable Internet Initiative. Well, you know, Detroit's like one of the top 5 least connected cities in the United States. So what happens when you have half of the city that has 1,000 megabits per second, and then the people with the least resources only have 10? I think that causes a huge problem as far as what you can do with access. Because of high foreclosure rates and because of bad credit, A lot of telecom companies don't offer good service within these areas, or they won't even turn on their fiber. So we have a lot of dark fiber that doesn't have internet running through it throughout the city. So we have gigabit fiber that we've purchased from a ring that was recently built downtown. They have built fiber up to a rooftop, and that rooftop then has a router that then is being pointed to each of our community centers. There's a global infrastructure. A lot of that fiber runs underneath cities and under the floors of oceans. That internet infrastructure then has these exchange points throughout the world. And the exchange points are where internet service providers then tap in to be able to exchange information. And then from there, internet service providers then build infrastructure to then share the signal. And so that's where we come in. We need to build our own infrastructure and rethink internet service providing and access in order to reach those people that have been traditionally left out and marginalized. So the work we've been doing is not just about access, it's about building a healthy digital ecosystem. We're also building an infrastructure that was missing in Detroit. What evolved out of that was what we call the Digital Stewards Program. We have now trained trainers in 3 neighborhoods. In the North End.
So yeah, we just leaving our spot right here. Our AP's on top of this building. We got our drivers right here. We got Gabby right there. We got the young guy, Heru, right here in the North End.
In Island View.
This space is the maker space for the church. The share network is down here, as you can see over your computers. Dwight works on like the wiring, cabling. There are a lot of the manual things that are on the tech side.
And in Southwest Detroit.
This would be an example of a public space. Some of the neighbors come over and they do their homework in the alley because we could share the Wi-Fi. A lot of the people right now, they currently there's people that go to McDonald's for Wi-Fi. Why not have a public space for people to use it?
It said 18 megabits though, so 89. Usually we have to put stuff up on the roof, but these trees are old in the North End. That's been our biggest complication, these like beautiful ass trees. It's good to have trees that's your complication.
87, 81, 82, 83.
Let's try the front window. This was our first one and it took 3 hours, so our time has been decreasing. I feel like me and my teammate Gabby can get one done in about an hour, honestly. You got to plan before you leave. We all got to be aware of like what's going on. Like, are we testing? Are we installing? We got to communicate. So a few things on paperwork got to be filled out. A few calls got to be made, and that's it. It's simple.
So this is the router that's on top of Grace in Action. Anything that we can see like straight from here is a house that we can get connected. So like the houses across the street, we can talk to the liquor store owner or the body shop owner. We're using our community relationships to kind of zigzag the connection down to Grace in Action. In a way right now, like 60% of Detroit is without high-speed internet. Like even the, the AT&T dial-up internet. And so things like water department, DTE, social services, they're not even translated. We're in a large Spanish-speaking community as well. People are being left behind in a system where technology is moving forward. There's a big digital divide, and so we're trying to make steps in order to bridge that gap.
My name is Wallace Adam Gilbert Jr. I'm the assistant pastor here at Church of the Messiah. We don't use titles, so everybody basically refers to me as Wally. This neighborhood is called Island View. To our west is downtown Detroit. It's booming and it's bustling. We are 2 minutes from the Detroit River. This is a very diverse neighborhood. This is one of the older parts of the city. We have an Earn a Computer program here at the church. So the kids come in, we put the call out, we get all of these old machines, we bring them in, and we help them build computers. This past Christmas, all of the kids were literally on every computer in this church. I'm walking around saying, you know, what's going on? They said, well, we got to go back to school tomorrow. So why are you on this machine? I helped you build a machine. I know you have a nice machine at home. He said, yes, Wally, but I don't have the internet. Without the internet, we've basically only given them typewriters.
So right here with these blue dots with the house symbols on them, these are the people who have filled out applications and are interested in receiving the internet. So we could service all of these people rather quickly. To get a signal from the Church of the Messiah, we would have to look at what buildings do they have over there that we can make a hub.
So what we're doing now is we've done the physical mapping, we've actually turned up the network here at the church, and now the individual residents are coming and signing up. We have 37 people that are on board. The main access is here at the church, and then we're broadcasting to other facilities. One of the requirements is that you do not have internet. Second requirement is that you cannot afford the internet. The third is you have to be within our range.
You look around and what you see is decay, but at the same time there's community groups developing, there's a food pantry, you know, the churches are still active in the community. We have an antenna right here, by the way, it's on the back of the house, and another one on the front of this house. We're giving people the internet.
Gabby, why are we doing this?
Justice. This is the future of the internet. This is the future of the world. New CEC-PATH internet.
We found our spot. We about to install. Took a little minute, couple windows. We don't have to go to the third level, so we should be good. So this is the final step, y'all. So we got our CPE outside. We got our RJ45 coming in to the grounding. The grounding got an RJ45 coming out to the router. The router is not connected to this laptop that she's configuring, giving network information to the devices in the house.
How do you leverage ownership of the networks that everybody uses every single freaking day? How do you leverage that? And then the connectedness between Island View, Grace in Action Southwest, and New CC on the north end. Again, different neighborhoods, but is there a community that gets established by those networks?
The community is actually starting to get very involved, they're very informed, they're very aware, and it was not an easy process, but they're there now.
Though some of the challenges in this process, it was a challenge negotiating to get our connections. Being a woman, specifically a woman of color, a lot of people aren't going to listen to me when it comes to technology or even the internet. We primarily work with women of color, and it's that to me has been like a success that's come out of this. And it's a proof that if you have people of color in leadership, then it'll uplift other people of color to come into leadership as well.
I think it's important when you talk about businesses and places and organizations that do things to have a face to it. So for me, this is a beautiful thing to be a part of, because the faces that these people see are the same people who installed it, the same people who are protecting their privacy, the same people who will come back and be like, hey, you have a problem. How do we fix that, you know?
If you think about it from a utility standpoint, the internet service providers are likely to at some point start to merge. And then you've got one or two big behemoths that are controlling access, right? And the type of products that you get to use. And we're trying to do something different.
This is a worldwide problem, not just here in Detroit. We see it in New York. Our Equitable Internet Initiative can't stop at everyone needs a connection. Everyone needs to have a high-speed connection, or else we're going to create a digital class system. Communication is a fundamental human right. The future of the internet should be a collaboration between city, philanthropy, and nonprofit sectors. In order to actually get to anybody, it's going to require quite a bit of community organizing.
My hope for the future of the internet is that it stays free and open to the humans on this planet.
I don't know where we are in terms of going into discussion, but I think everyone who has been paying attention can see the cross section from Connect 313 and Dr. Leach's presentation, as well as what was said in this video. So I don't know if one of the moderators want to join me at this point and see, because I think it's about talking about this, because a lot of people don't know about it, even though it's happening right before them. Dr. Bailey, or
No problem. Yes, we're gonna just take time, 5 minutes for questions, and they're gonna go into our breakout rooms, and we're probably gonna spend just 15, 20 minutes in our breakout rooms to come back and report out, because we want to be respectful of everyone's time. So does anyone have any questions for Mr. House, Dr. Wade, or Dr. Leach?
First off, this is so amazing. I appreciate y'all for doing this. I really want to know from each person. I think I started a little late, but I heard Dr. Wade's presentation and Mr. House. I think we've met a couple of times at Miss Jerry's at Oakland Avenue. But I wanted to know, how do we get more of these programs out there? Like, what is it that we need to do as organizational partners in the community doing community-based work? How do we get our community markets aware of what's going on, and those that don't have this, can we get them there? Can we, bring this into our other, programming spaces and really help the community? I actually don't live that far from Island View. I might see if I can tap into that, because one of the things I was sharing with Bree Brody was that our budget, we paid for that high-speed internet that is coming from downtown at the Eastern Market. It took a really big chunk of money out of our budget, and we have to pay that, I'm not sure if it's annual in the Eastern Market where we're paying this, but it is a big chunk of the budget that we used for these kind of things, internally. And I was just saying, my own personal budget, it's a big cost for me to have internet in my house, and I don't even have high-speed internet because it's not reaching the bandwidth of my whole square footage in my house. And so I think we should really consider like what working class people go through. Some of the things that I experienced in the Food Security Council space when I sat on that council was that the most food insecure people are full-time employed. So how do we get those people who are not like just seniors or just youth? How do we get the in-between people in programs like this in the city of Detroit? And how do we get other organizations getting some of that programming that y'all doing in the Wi-Fi space?
Somebody want to go first? Answer a question. Well, wow. One of the things that has become apparent to me is the self-inflicted digital divide. And that's apparent in the organizations and in the people who are overseeing these missions to increase, is that there's a class, once you're in a certain speed level, once you have a certain acquired amount of digital access, you have no idea. You begin to forget or overlook or don't realize that the person next to you doesn't have that. And it's not a color issue. Because I used to tell people, like, well, my child's in the suburbs, and so I know they're getting a better digital access. I said, no, they're getting the same amount. They have 30 plus students in the classroom. They have 30 new computers, and those same children see the computer once a day for an hour under instruction. After that, they have to do it on their own. At least at that point, now they got tablets and other devices are becoming available. But it's still the simple things like, I don't know what to do with, what can I do with this old chair? Oh, I gotta ask somebody. And they're like, oh man, look it up on the internet. I don't know where to find my medication. Look it up on the internet. These things, people, the simplest of things are overlooked in terms of digital inclusion, digital literacy. And I've watched it. I mean, my own personal experience is I provide the internet to 40 households around me. Just give it to them, right? So, and there's also a guest network that's available. So I created a small network in 2012, which I upgraded in 2019, so that people can walk through my neighborhood, drive through my neighborhood, stop and get an hour to 2 hours of bandwidth. And so there's politics in it too, because I really think I should be talking to the Connect 313 at length. I should be meeting with you 100% of the time because I have studied these policies and lived them. And I don't know how many other people are advocating. I mean, I'm happy to see that you are, and this actual gathering is. So finishing to answer the question, it's for all of us to be more aware of how much power we have individually. You know what I mean, in terms of our access. And those of us who have more access to look to provide access to those around us. It could be as simple as your neighbors don't have the same bandwidth as you. And maybe you could share that or have a conversation about sharing internet. This is not necessarily condoned at this moment. Residents are not, legally allowed to share their internet with other people, which is one of those things that private institutions and corporations, that needs to be addressed, because we want to include the digital divide. To change the digital divide, it may be just to give free access on every Comcast modem. It's almost that, but it's not that. So it's a public-private partnership necessity. It's a awareness amongst those who do have digital access that there are ways that you can assist those around you directly with information. So I'm gonna stop there. I could go on.
Yes, there was a couple of questions concerning privacy, the assurance of privacy. So if you could speak on that in the work that's being done.
I think that to address the privacy issue, we gave our written word that we would not look into or track any of the data that was being passed across this internet connection. That was also part of the revolution or the revolt, because nobody really wanted to give us this type of like, oh, you're just going to give all these people internet access? We want to give everybody an individual IP address, like an address. So I know I can tie your name and your activity to your IP address. With our system sharing it with the world, if they didn't know, they will now know. We purchased or acquired internet connections, and then we created small subnets that allow the people to have anonymity to a point in terms of everybody who used our internet came through one IP address. And that's not normally how corporations, government want it to happen. They want everybody to have you at your machine, Dr. Lee, you, Dr. Wade, you, Mrs. Bailey, your name, your activity, your IP address. So privacy is based on those things, like your activity directly on your machine. We can offer, or we did offer, a level of anonymity, but then when you're logged into your computer on your device and on your screen or website, webpage, all that's accessible to whoever has set up cookies in your browser. So privacy is a real thin line, because we offer up so much to get the access. That line is very, very gray.
Okay, this is all setting us up for some interesting discussion in our breakouts. And so we will transition to our breakout sessions right now. We will ask for the assistance of Chris, who will be putting everyone into the appropriate breakout sessions. So we're just going to give him just a couple of moments to do so.